tranquility of a town nestled far in the country, where the silence of nature reigned, an unsettling quietude prevailed until the arrival of a scientist whose quest for knowledge would shatter the peace. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, the scientist carried with them a tablet adorned with cryptic hieroglyphics stolen from a remote tribe deep within the Amazon. As the scientists set up their equipment in the heart of the serene town, the tablet seemed to react to the intrusion. The ancient glyphs etched on its surface began to emit an ethereal glow, a silent warning of the dormant power locked within. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting residents, the scientists' actions had triggered an ancient curse that lay dormant for centuries. The once quiet town, now overshadowed by an ominous energy, bore witness to the unfolding mystery. As the scientists delved into the tablet's secrets, the very air seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly presence. The stillness of the countryside gave way to an eerie tension as the glyphs illuminated, revealing the key to a malevolent force that had long slumbered. Each passing moment, the scientists' endeavors unraveled the threads of an ancient spell, setting in motion a chain of events that would plunge the tranquil surroundings into a nightmarish abyss. Unaware of the impending horror, the scientists persisted in deciphering the tablet's inscriptions. As the last glyph was decoded, an unsettling transformation gripped the natural world surrounding the town. The animals, once gentle inhabitants of the countryside, underwent a monstrous metamorphosis. In the blink of an eye, they transformed into colossal, bloodthirsty creatures, horrors unleashed by the unforgiving power of the ancient curse. The townsfolk, now faced with creatures that defied the laws of nature, found themselves trapped in a waking nightmare. The once idyllic countryside echoed with the roars and snarls of the grotesque entities that emerged from the shadows. The scientist, now burdened by the realization of their unwitting role in the catastrophe, desperately sought a way to reverse the curse. The tablet, once a source of mysterious knowledge, had become a harbinger of doom, and the scientist grappled with the consequences of unlocking the forbidden secrets within. As the bloodthirsty creatures prowled through the town, chaos ensued. Desperation and fear permeated the air as the townsfolk, facing an ancient malevolence, sought refuge from the monstrous onslaught. The once quiet town had become a battleground between the supernatural and the mundane. In a race against time, the scientist, guided by remorse and the weight of responsibility, sought to find a solution within the tablet's enigmatic inscriptions. The glyphs, now tainted with the darkness they had unleashed, seemed to mock the futility of undoing the ancient curse. As the night wore on, the town's fate hung in the balance. The bloodthirsty creatures, once ordinary animals, remained relentless in their pursuit of the terrified residents. The scientist, haunted by the consequences of their actions, stood at the epicenter of the unfolding tragedy. The scientist, driven by a desperate determination to undo the havoc unleashed, delved deeper into the tablet's inscriptions. The glyphs, now pulsating with an unholy energy, seemed to reveal a sliver of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. A forgotten ritual, hidden within the intricate patterns of the hieroglyphics, held the key to sealing the portal between the natural and the supernatural. With trembling hands, the scientist gathered the necessary materials and sought out the focal point of the curse, the very spot where the tablet had been first deciphered. In the midst of chaos, where monstrous creatures roamed freely, the scientist began the intricate ritual. Incantations whispered in desperation, symbols traced in the air, and the tablet glowed with a spectral radiance as the ancient forces responded to the supplication. As the ritual reached its zenith, the atmosphere shifted. The colossal creatures, momentarily disoriented by the surge of mystical energy, hesitated in their bloodthirsty pursuits. The townsfolk, caught between the imminent threat and the glimmer of hope, watched with bated breath as the supernatural battle unfolded. The scientist, consumed by the weight of their actions, pressed on, determined to close the rift between worlds. The glyphs on the tablet, now a conduit for both salvation and damnation, flickered with an intensity that mirrored the struggle between the forces of light and the encroaching shadows. In a climactic moment, the ritual culminated in a blinding burst of energy. The rift, fueled by the curse's malevolence, trembled and then slowly began to close. The colossal creatures, now writhing in agony, dissipated into the fading echoes of a vanquished nightmare. Silence descended upon the once chaotic town, The glyphs on the tablet dimmed, the supernatural energy subsided, and the natural order began to reassert itself. The townsfolk, bearing witness to the extraordinary events, emerged cautiously from their hiding places, their expressions a mix of relief and awe. The scientist, drained by the ordeal, stood amidst the aftermath of the supernatural struggle. The tablet, now devoid of its ominous glow, remained a relic of a perilous journey into the mysteries of the past. The once quiet town, scarred but resilient, began the process of healing from the wounds inflicted by the glyphs of the unearthed nightmare. As the first light of dawn broke on the horizon, the scientist, burdened by the lessons learned, made a solemn promise to guard the tablet's secrets. The town, forever marked by the convergence of the supernatural and the mundane, carried the echoes of a nightmarish episode that would linger in its collective memory. In the hushed aftermath, as the townsfolk sought to rebuild, and the scientist grappled with the consequences of meddling with the forbidden, whispers of the glyphs faded into the annals of history. The countryside, once again quiet, held its secrets close, reminding those who dared to seek knowledge that some mysteries were best left undisturbed. In the heart of a shadowed alley, where whispers of the supernatural lingered like ghostly echoes, there stood a mysterious fortune-teller. Cloaked in darkness, she wielded an ancient talisman, a conduit to the unknown realms that promised glimpses into the future. Little did her customers know that the price of these glimpses would be more than mere currency. The talisman, an artifact steeped in otherworldly power, demanded a grim tribute. For every fortune revealed, the fortune-teller, in a clandestine ritual, sacrificed fragments of her unsuspecting customers' destinies. The dark energy harvested fueled the magic of the talisman, creating an unspoken pact between the fortune-teller and the forces that dwelled beyond the veil. As the years passed, the alley became a haven for those seeking answers to life's mysteries. The fortune-teller, shrouded in an aura of enigma, accumulated a wealth of knowledge and an ever-growing list of patrons who sought solace in the cryptic revelations she provided. However, the talisman's hunger for sacrifices intensified. The customers, unknowingly contributing to their own fates, continued to seek the fortune-teller's guidance, oblivious to the looming darkness that clung to the edges of their destinies. One fateful night, as the moon hung low in the ink-black sky, the fortune-teller made a decision that would alter the course of her own destiny. Driven by a growing unease and a tinge of guilt, she resolved to sever the unholy alliance with the talisman. The price of foresight, she decided, would no longer be paid in the silent sacrifices of her unsuspecting clientele. As the talisman's influence waned, a malevolent force, angered by the disruption of its pact, cast a shadow over the alley. The once veiled fortune-teller found herself ensnared in a supernatural storm, her own destiny now entwined with the consequences of her decision. The customers, freed from the insidious web of sacrifice, soon discovered the true nature of their fortune-teller's art. The revelations once promised with an air of mystery now unveiled a different truth, one tainted by the remnants of the talisman's dark magic. The alley, once a sanctuary for seekers of the unknown, transformed into a nexus of supernatural chaos. The customers, no longer sheltered by the veiled prophecies, faced a grim reality where the threads of their fates unraveled with a vengeance. As the fortune-teller grappled with the consequences of her choice, the customers, now bereft of the talisman's dubious blessings, met their destinies with a collective and ominous demise. The alley, haunted by the echoes of sacrificed fates, bore witness to the unraveling of lives intertwined with the supernatural. In the end, the fortune-teller, stripped of her mystical powers and burdened by the weight of a forsaken destiny, stood alone in the alley. The talisman, once a source of mysterious insight, lay dormant, its dark magic extinguished by the sacrifice of its own pact. Haunted by the aftermath of her decision, the fortune-teller wandered through the desolate alley, the air heavy with the palpable residue of severed destinies. The customers, now lost to the cruel machinations of their own untethered fates, left behind an eerie silence that reverberated through the once thriving sanctuary. As the fortune-teller sought solace amidst the ruins of her own making, the talisman, once a conduit to the supernatural, lay dormant, but not defeated. The The malevolent force that had cast its shadow over the alley lingered, a spectral presence biding its time, waiting for an opportunity to reassert its dominion. The fortune teller, tormented by guilt and the echoes of sacrificed lives, found herself at the crossroads of redemption and damnation. With each step, the desolation of the alley mirrored the shattered fragments of her own destiny. The talisman, a symbol of both power and peril, remained a silent witness to the price paid for meddling with the forces beyond. In the wake of the Forsaken Pact, the fortune teller encountered the lingering spirits of her former customers. The ethereal echoes of their fates, twisted and distorted by the dark magic of the talisman, whispered tales of regrets and unfinished journeys. The alley, now a spectral labyrinth, became a purgatory for those ensnared in the threads of a forsaken veil. Driven by a desperate need for redemption, the fortune teller embarked on a quest to undo the malevolence that had stained her hands. The talisman, though dormant, held the key to restoring balance, a chance to mend the frayed fabric of destinies that had unraveled in the wake of the Forsaken Pact. As the fortune teller approached the talisman, a resurgence of supernatural energy pulsed through the alley. The malevolent force, sensing an opportunity to reclaim its hold, stirred from its slumber. The air crackled with tension as the fortune teller, caught between the redemption she sought and the darkness she unleashed, faced a perilous confrontation. In a moment of reckoning, the fortune teller, guided by a newfound resolve, channeled the remnants of the talisman's magic. With trembling hands, she whispered incantations to bind the malevolent force and restore the stolen destinies to their rightful owners. The alley, once shrouded in despair, now echoed with the murmurs of released spirits finding their way to the afterlife. The talisman, drained of its dark power, crumbled into dust, severing the last link to the Forsaken Pact. The fortune teller, marked by the scars of her choices, stood amidst the fading echoes of the supernatural storm. As the alley returned to a semblance of normalcy, the fortune teller, forever changed by the ordeal, embraced the weight of her past. The once thriving sanctuary, now a symbol of redemption, bore witness to the resilience of a soul that had traversed the shadows and emerged on the other side.